Welcome everyone to the third episode of the Nuggy Guys podcast. It's your hosts Sid, Pat, and Doug, and tonight we're joined by our good buddy Jared.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on here. I'll try not to run this thing into the ground, but you know me, you never know what's going to happen, so.
That kind of applies to all of us, really.
I know, that's who we
super
are.
excited to be here. This episode is a monthly recap. Jared, would you like to kick us off?
I don't have much to say right off the bat. I'm sure stuff will come to me, but I do got my can at least.
We're glad to be here. I have a news article. Research indicates that secret kill switches were found in Chinese inverters and solar equipment here in the U.S., as well as possibly in Europe. There's ongoing research, of course, but that can definitely prove a huge issue if China would want to do a remote grid blackout, something like what we saw in Spain. I'm not saying that was an intentional blackout, but that kind of thing is very possible if you have remote cellular kill switches in solar or any other kind of inverter, wind, anything that's not generated by spinning forces.
Yeah, I don't know about the one in Spain because they did that like immediately, maybe a week after they said they got all their nukes offline and everything, promptly crashed their grid. But interestingly enough, it was like the first thing they said. They're like, oh, this was definitely not a cyber attack, so don't even start thinking about that.
So inverter is a device that converts AC to DC or?
DC to AC.
DC to AC.
Well, often they do both. It depends. I mean,
and you're saying there's
a lot
kill
of them
switches.
are multi-directional.
There's kill switches in these.
Yes, believed to be cellularly activated. So they wouldn't have to have internet network. I mean, they have to be in range of either satellites or cell towers.
Gotcha.
I didn't do enough research to be sure on which.
Well, I must live under a rock. No clue what you guys are talking about.
Well, it's like, you'd use them mainly, I don't know, Sid probably knows better than me on this, but like, if you have a solar panel, sun shines in it, that makes DC power. And everything in your house, anything you go anywhere except for batteries, use AC power. And you can't run an AC motor on DC one. So like, you have to convert your DC to AC. And then you have this inverter that does it. It's a boring looking box. And if the Chinese destroy it, well then your like entire grid is fried for them.
Yeah, it's found especially in green energy equipment. Like I said, windmills, solar, a lot of that kind of thing that's not high speed rotational power generation. Battery systems. So, and I mean even some microgrids and things rely on battery systems to help stabilize the grid, because batteries and inverters have high output for short time periods and can also take large inrushes of electricities in a load rejection scenario.
It hit the Amish in Indiana real hard on their DC batteries.
I mean, if you're using your power drill and the battery just stops, who are you gonna blame? The Chinese?
No, but they got their like in-house DC power systems for their colonies. I don't know, it's not a colony.
Shout out to the Amish. They have some pretty advanced electrical systems that we don't.
I know, right? The whole RV industry would be dead. American dream gone.
Right.
Down the toilet, ladies and gentlemen.
So switching gears, I think it was the beginning of this month that they appointed the new pope, or did that happen in April? That was this.
I think
that
it
was
was
the beginning of this month. I really haven't heard much about him.
First ever American Pope. That's
true.
all I heard.
American.
I don't care enough about Catholicism to really care otherwise.
From Chicago. The memes were spicy.
Yes.
I think he
Memes
grew
were
up.
spicy.
I could be wrong, but I think the Pope, P. Diddy, and someone else grew up like within a few blocks of each other.
Oh boy.
Fascinating.
Probably completely false, but it was
Small
hilarious.
world.
My bit of news I want to talk about is this month we had a good conflict between two nuclear powers and resolved it, and we're back to normal again. So sounds like the world's a happy place. India and Pakistan trading, I don't know, strikes, I guess is the best way to say it. Pakistan shot down a bunch of India's fighters, and India blew up a bunch of Pakistani air bases, and now everything's back to chill. And whether or not that was Trump, I don't really know. Supposedly he was the one who called the shots and told him to shut up.
So I was not aware that India and Pakistan were both nuclear powers, but apparently they did both have nuclear weapons of some sort.
Yeah, they both have nuclear weapons, and they both would love to genocide each other. Like, we're talking like,
Interesting.
it's like North Korea and South Korea, except for that
Okay.
In this case, both of them would have nukes instead of just one.
Interesting. On a bit of a sadder note, this is old news till this episode drops, but Sunday before Memorial Day, patriarch died, Phil Robertson. I guess we all knew it was coming. I wasn't following the story as close as I should have been. I would have been listening to the correct podcast, but December of last year he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and then apparently it was really getting bad into this spring. So, true legend, unbelievable guy.
Great guy. You know, they attempted to cancel him, didn't they? Did not
times.
work. So, respect for Phil Robertson.
Yeah, I liked how even in his death, like a lot of the news coverage was like patriarch and absolute sexist dies.
Yeah.
Oh, so sad. I was like, okay, NBC, tell me something else new.
That's why I don't watch them, but the internet was amazing, the amount of support I saw for the Robertson family and Phil Robertson. Person after person, hundreds of people. I mean, Phil did this. Phil, this changed my life. What he said in this situation. This. And as Phil he was always saying, don't cry for me when I die. It's
Really,
like, because
so.
I'm in heaven. He's like, you're going to get resurrected with a new body, so.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
You have to appreciate that kind of faith.
Well,
It
he
just
had,
really speaks.
he had a rough backstory, too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I honestly appreciate his wife almost more. In this case, she's like insane. I mean, he was a good guy, too, but I wouldn't have stuck with him.
A common trend for this month was apparently running cars into people, especially in Europe.
It's the new fad.
It's apparently the new
I guess that's what happens when
The
you
new
ban
favorite-
guns and knives.
favorite school shooting is now running over people with your car, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
That was a minivan, wasn't it?
Make sure you use a hybrid. It's better for the environment.
Yes.
Good thing you quit driving a minivan just
Yeah.
recently. We're safe there.
No longer fearing potential threats from our friend Doug.
I guess kind of back to the thing of sickness and death. Biden has cancer. We suspect had cancer for a while, but now it's out in the open. Also, not really related, but Scott Adams has the same type of cancer. He's the guy behind Dilbert.
I saw he had
Oh,
cancer, but I didn't
that's
get to
right.
check it out. So is he gonna die shortly?
He's
Like,
gonna die. He really this summer sometime is what he said.
that's sad. I learned everything I know about business from him.
Yes.
So, do you have any idea like how serious Biden's is? I think I've seen like stage 4 or something. Or
Bad enough that it's in his bones now, I think.
That's what they said.
but I also thought I
Which-
read that it's very treatable, at least if it's caught at the right time.
Oh, yeah, no, the type of cancer he had, I've heard that a lot of doctors won't even bother treating it if they catch it early enough. They'll just monitor it, and usually you'll die of other causes before you die of the cancer. So it is interesting that it's all of a sudden this bad when they finally discover it. Isn't it something that you can catch with blood work?
Yeah, supposedly.
So, who knows? Who knows what
You're
went
saying
on
it's-
behind the scenes?
Blood transmittable or whatever.
Well, I'm
No.
saying,
Blood-borne
Like
pathogen.
you when he does his annual physical or whatever for the
Oh, you're
president,
saying
when they do the
have
blood
to- I
work,
thought
you can
meant
see it.
You contract the disease
no,
due to dirty
no.
needles.
I'm saying you should be able to figure out that you have that from blood work.
Right, which opens up a whole other can of worms as to why. Did they just not say it? Were the doctors aware of it? But
Did they want him to win 2024 and then die in office
Yes.
to get Harris in?
Potentially.
That seems quite reasonable to me.
I think there's a reason it didn't come public before now.
well, if so, then why did they force him to step back?
Well, because he would have lost after that debate performance, I think, and they realized
100%. That's what
Which-
everybody claimed. I don't know. Like, I can't predict elections. But supposedly, after that debate, everybody saw that he was now completely incompetent and he was going to lose the election. So they're like, we have to quick replace him with somebody who could possibly win.
and it's interesting that they even let him do the debate in the first place, I guess, before the primaries like they did, right?
Yeah. And then they just didn't have primaries. The real question is, like, the whole thing behind this is, like, actually, who was president? Was it Jill? Was it some other staffer? Like, I've seen rumors that, like, actually Jill's chief of her own staff was maybe who was actually running the government. I don't know.
Well, if we're getting into conspiracy theories on the Biden administration, I think we're going to be here all night and possibly
Yes.
a couple of weeks. So I may steer clear of that for the moment.
Right, let us move on. Moving on. However, we all know who was running the actual presidency. Just we won't go there right now. So
Very unrelated, but still kind of fishy. English fishers enjoy surprise octopus boom, allegedly. Apparently, warmer waters, there is more octopi available to be caught near England.
Bring back that whatchamacallit you make out of octopus?
Calamari. Actually, I think that's squid.
Wow.
I'm not saying you
Sounds
couldn't.
good. You know,
couldn't make-
octopuses are also, like, the third most intelligent creature or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard
How
of
do you verify, like, how intelligent a creature is.
You make Mark Rober do a video on it and test it. That's the only verification I trust anymore. Like he does a game with his creature, and then you know whether or not it's real.
Sure. Well, we'll have to get him on the pod, see what he has to say.
That'd be great. I'd love to help with an octopus game. Like send
He's
them
done
through
one,
me. I feel like they can get through just about anything.
Yeah, did you not
very-
watch his on that? It was
No, I
great.
haven't.
He got himself an octopus and then did this whole thing, and then felt bad because he watched Saving Nemo once, and so he had to return the octopus to the ocean, and that was the funniest part.
Yeah.
Like,
Bummer. I was hoping he would eat it in the end.
no, I don't know. He had a name for it.
Yeah, if you name it, you can't eat it. That's kind of the almost rule of thumb, unless it's a derogatory name.
The big beautiful bill passed the Senate or passed something.
I know it was through the House. I'm not sure if it's where it's at this point.
Also,
We need
the-
an impression of somebody saying the biggest, the best about this bill.
The biggest, the best, the most beautiful bill in the country.
Thank you,
there we have
Jared.
it. We appreciate that.
We try. We don't quite have that.
We're working
Good old
on it.
Sean
It's
Ferris
coming for
sound.
sure.
How about this one?
I told Mike Johnson, I said, you have to get the bill through Congress or you're fired. I'm going to put you in the White House like I did to Zelensky, and I'm going to tear into you. I'm going to let J.D. Vance tear into you. It's going to be very ugly. We don't want that.
Okay, that's good.
He's getting good. It must be under the pressure of being on record here. I mean,
Keep
he's
practicing.
just
guys.
starting to get great.
You guys are getting it.
Honestly, though, everybody said Mike Johnson was terrible. He's sort of working out. I'm just gonna say it. Like he may be sort of squishy, he may be weird, but like he got the bill through. So I don't know.
I think as a guy, he's actually a nice guy. So he's a good guy, I believe. As a politician, I don't know.
That's the thing. A lot of these guys could be good guys, but you can't tell when they're in politics. Like I would say, to get to any federal position, you have to kind of sell your soul. But I don't know. Is that a reasonable assumption, or is that?
Well,
Do you think there's people that have made it without having to give up their morals?
I would say he's a little bit of an odd one out because no one ever thought he was gonna get elected as speaker.
That is true. It was a shocker when he got it.
There are people in there that, like, I would say bow to no one. Even if I disagree with them on a lot of things, like Senator Rand Paul, for example.
Oh yeah.
He will always, whatever he believes, he's going to stand on that. You can back him against the wall. He will fight his party. He will fight anyone over it. So, hey, respect to the man, whether or not you agree with what he does.
Yeah.
What's he do or what? Like I seriously have no clue what he thinks.
He's pretty conservative, but then he'll have odd takes on stuff.
I think
So I'm guessing he's definitely against government spending and stuff.
Was he like one of the 3 or 4 Republicans who voted against the big beautiful bill or something?
Well, I don't know, because I'm not even sure if it's where it is in the Senate. I know in the House vote there was a few that did. Jumping back to Mike for 1 second. One good thing to say about Mike, though, is he did give his condolences to the Robertson family. So,
Okay.
That's
we appreciate
it.
respect.
We like it.
What's the world come to when you're scrolling headlines and one thing that pops up is how U.S. tariffs could lead to an inrush of cheap Chinese vapes in the United Kingdom? Like, why is that even in the news?
Aren't all vapes already from China?
I think most of them.
So that means that our cheap junk vapes are going to UK. Like, I mean, I'm cool with that. How about you?
Like, we don't want them in America.
We don't
do
want
we?
them here.
Like how did Tommy Robertson get his voice that it sounds like that unless he did a bunch
Yeah.
of vaping or something?
Sometime it'd be interesting to do a research on industries and what industries have the largest quantity of vapors, people who vape and people who smoke and things like
As
that.
far as occupation. or-
Right, occupational.
Okay.
Can be fascinating because there's some trades that I've worked with that have very high levels, probably 90%.
I would say construction is definitely
That's where I would lean.
definitely about, I don't know, 70-80%, and then you go into like roofing, probably like 95%.
Right. What's wild is watching some of the videos of the cheap junk vape factories where they test all the vapes on humans. I mean, humans sit there and
Yeah, I've seen
grab a
that.
pack of 6 and just suck them all, taste them.
It's wild.
It is crazy.
You want to talk about how South Africa's president got us sort of tearing down in the Oval
Yes,
Office?
that was a good moment.
I think it was great. Like, I thought it was hilarious. I don't know how much of it you watched, but it was a hilarious moment where after he'd rolled the tape, where he's like, oh, shut off the lights, darken the room, roll the tape. Anyway, he was still sitting there and the press was giving him questions or whatever, giving Trump questions. And Trump was just flipping through printed out newspaper
Yes.
articles about people being killed in South Africa. And the press was like, isn't genocide a pretty strong word to use? And Trump's like, I'm just looking. He's
Yeah.
flip. I thought it was pretty hilarious.
Did you all see Elon Musk?
He is-
South Africa.
He is from South Africa.
Yeah, he's a
isn't he?
South
So,
African.
As
what's
me-
his take on?
Who virtually pays attention to the news only through memes? No. Could somebody explain?
I didn't see it.
I just saw people talking about it apparently. Because, I mean, over there, he would be one of the targeted people. Except he has enough money to probably keep him from getting too much danger. But I think it is a genocide and people aren't talking about it. But
Well, they're killing people based on
the amount
skin
of
color, right?
I mean, I've heard of thousands. It's like the farmers. They're like death to the Boers,
Yeah.
The Boers.
which would have been the original Dutch.
The Brits fought him back in the day. Winston Churchill got his like fame from escaping from like the world's second most secured prison. It was a Boer prison camp.
Interesting. So no, the British fought the Boers.
The British fought the
after
Boers.
the Boers colonized South Africa, right? Or
Well,
what's
yeah.
the history as far as how
So-
did the Dutch get there?
The Dutch got there about the same time like the English got to America. Not quite, but roughly the same time. And there was
So early
basically
1600s.
yeah, well, more 1700s before they had many people.
Okay.
But like basically there was no people there. They move in, roll up on their ships, and just set up camp, right? Start colonizing, whatever. And then eventually there's a bunch of fighting up north of them. And I think it's the Bantu people get pushed south by the Zulus. And so they sort of end up with the Boers and they hang out. And so honestly the biggest problem in South Africa supposedly is that none of those dudes can get along. Like sure they're happy to gang up on the Boers while they're still here, but like as soon as they leave, sort of like Rhodesia, next thing you know,
Yeah.
the Bantu and the Zulus are going to be like absolutely obliterating each other.
No surprise to any of us, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. revoked the CDC's recommendation that children and pregnant women get the COVID vaccine. Of course, that only comes out now, years after most of us have quit worrying about COVID and vaccines and getting shots.
Still, it's probably good to remember that.
Oh, it's important news. It's just proof that all the so-called conspiracy theorists during COVID who said that the vaccine is bad and untested and we should not take it. So finally there's some more good evidence that maybe it was not everything that it was said to be.
Not safe and effective or whatever.
Correct, and it's not even conspiracy theory. Like, the conspiracy theorists, like myself, would have other opinions on the vaccine besides that, but just the fact that it was untested, yeah. And I just saw that as well. I was thinking about mentioning that. But coming a little closer home, been a lot of tornadoes lately. I just saw this article, Kentucky couple lost opposite arms because they were hanging on to each other during a tornado.
Is that
That's wild.
cute?
I don't think it's... I wouldn't call it cute. I would call it...
Honorable. Is what I'm
Interesting
saying.
experience to go through together.
Losing arms is not cute, but the fact that they lost them because they were holding on to each other is commendable.
Yes.
Honorable. I'm going to give it that rating. I'm
That's
not sure.
the word either, and cute doesn't
Chivalrous.
sound right.
How about
Was it off at the
Chivalrous.
elbow or off
It's
at the shoulder? Like, how much of an arm are we talking about here?
Well,
Do we know?
we'll see how specific the article gets.
Probably some HIPAA law prevents us.
So the husband has some dementia, so he's kind of confused.
Oh, so these are old people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we should keep them in our prayers. And they have a GoFundMe set up. We don't have the link for that, but you
Okay.
all can go look for it.
Yeah.
That's wild, though, that they had enough strength to hold on to each other tight enough to lose their arms rather than
that's
lose their
insane.
grip of each other's arms. Like, that's some force.
Well, I know Joplin Tornado, reading the book about that. I think, did the dad in that book have his arms torn out of the socket anyhow or something, trying to grab his kid because his kid went out the sunroof
Dislocated.
of his Hummer. Just remember that.
Unless they just took shrapnel and had to get him amputated or something.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm guessing not. If it says
sounded, yeah.
if you're hanging on to each other, unless
Yeah,
it's
it's
just been a wild tornado season.
Not exactly news, but do you think Netanyahu rules the world?
Whoa, we're bringing
Whoa,
the
we're going
conspiracy
there?
theories on, son.
Oh, wow.
Okay, this was what I've been thinking about this for a while because, like, at the behest of a good friend, I went and actually listened to Candace Owens being on with Theo Vaughn, and I thought she was more anti-Jew, and she, at least on there, she presents herself as more anti-Netanyahu and like anti the state of Israel, which is a little different. And she says that he rules the world. Like Trump pulls out the chair for him, everything.
Not all Jews are Netanyahus, but all Netanyahus are Jews, right?
Yeah, I guess.
That's confusing. I'm not sure.
Well, keep in mind, I think that was before some of the last things went down when Trump went on his Middle East tour and stuff, when she was talking about that. And also the whole big, beautiful plan for the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu heard that along with all of us for the very first time, at least judging by the way he reacted in the press conference. He's like, what? Okay. You're not telling me what I'm doing in my country.
What is the big, beautiful plan for the Gaza Strip?
Well, Trump was like, let's move all the Gazans out, and let's go put in some Trump hotels, more or less. I mean, the gist of it.
Yeah, and I was listening to...
Tourists, not terrorists. That's a campaign I can get behind.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he actually said something sort of like that. But one problem in the Gaza Strip actually is they have so many tunnels that you probably can't build skyscrapers very easily. Like, you can't get solid foundations except for at very specific locations, supposedly.
Due to tunnels or due to soft ground?
Well, part of it because like Gaza is sort of a beach, but yes, also tunnels.
So,
That is wild.
That many terror
trying to
tunnels,
remember-
right? These are mostly tunnels used as hideouts and storage places for Hamas, essentially.
Yeah,
right?
and hide their hostages and stuff in them.
Pat, can you remind me, is it Venice that was built largely on piers pounded into the dirt? If you beat enough large, long rods or sticks into the dirt, it'll firm it up. And you can build on top of it, even in soft soil. I'm trying to remember. There's some city.
Well,
that's
Venice-
largely
Yes,
built
Venice
on
is more built
principle.
on water. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
Venice
yes,
is the
Mars
city
too.
where the streets are like rivers. Or,
That's
Yeah,
what I was
but
thinking,
So
but-
the ground underneath is not something you want to build on. I believe
Probably
it was
not.
Venice. I'd have to research.
If you also want something interesting, look at how many like great cities or capital cities are built on swamps. Mexico City, Washington D.C., Venice, obviously. There's a whole bunch of cities that I don't know what's wrong with world leaders. They love living in swamps. But anyway,
Well, case in point, the swamp.
Yeah, that's true. Gotta drain the swamp.
all the swamps apparently.
Yeah, more than one swamp.
But if you're back to Trump's Middle East tour, that was actually pretty big news because he went over, signed deals with Saudi Arabia, with Qatar. I believe he signed one with the UAE. He's at least, negotiating with them. He also took Syria off of our sanction list, which not sure I agree with that decision. It's good he's giving them a break. Should give the Syrians a chance, but I'm not completely impressed with what they're up to yet. And he also did not stop in Israel to say hi to Netanyahu. And you have to remember the Middle East is like a 3 or 4-way power struggle between Israel, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and then sometimes, Turkey, depending where you are in there. And so like he's out cutting deals with Saudi Arabia but not talking to Israel, so that Israel's not happy, and then I don't know, interesting stuff.
As we say, oil runs the world. Why are we not surprised we're making deals with Saudis?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Saudis are our friends yet. I'm not quite sure yet.
I think it's better to try to make deals with them than to completely blacklist them, right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
sort of
because it's like we pin someone as like the evil one, like Russia, right? Like they're the bad ones. So does that mean we just ignore them and like refuse to negotiate with them? Because there's two sides to every struggle, right? There's two sides to every conflict.
And here's the thing with Saudi Arabia, we've had bases there since we've been like bombing Iraq and everything. Like
Yeah.
they have stood by us for a very long time, and we sort of built Saudi Arabia actually too. But we built their energy infrastructure, a lot of it. Our companies paid for it. And sort of Trump's plan, as far as I can tell in the Middle East, he's like, maybe if we just trade with these dudes for a while, instead of just like randomly bombing them, they'll chill out and maybe they won't hate us quite so much. Which is a fair deal, I'd say.
Is Hezbollah based in Saudi Arabia or Syria? Or neither of them?
So Hezbollah's based in Lebanon.
In Lebanon. What about the Houthis? Where are they based?
The Houthis are based in Yemen, which is sort of like at the
Okay.
other end. It's behind Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
It's
I
like-
can't keep track of all the terror
It's
groups.
Saudi Arabia's beach
Okay.
to the Red Sea, sort of.
Okay.
Part of it.
Gotcha.
So maybe this is a keep your friends close but enemies closer scenario where Trump befriends the people he doesn't trust.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot easier than conquering a people is just to befriend them and take their spices or whatever they used to do in the
Yeah.
old days.
Who needs the oil though? I mean, we're going all electric, right?
Yes.
Then again, we might have one of these inverter attacks happen or whatever.
That's
I
true.
did hear recently, so California had a plan to be completely electric by like 2030, right? What year was that?
Yes.
Something like that.
That got repealed, I think, by federal courts or by Trump.
I just saw apparently there's bills in the works, basically that will. There's a lot of states that have a 2035 ban coming, there's bills apparently in the works that will get rid of that.
Yeah.
And hey, just look where the money is. GM just announced it was cutting like $300 billion EV project, and instead investing like $880, I believe it is, into New York for V8 engines and stuff. So that brings up the whole conversation: is electric like going to be a thing of the past? Do you think it's going to keep growing and just not get pushed as
The
hard?
other question is, why do people not want electric?
Why do you not want electric?
Well, we don't have enough charging stations around here, right? Like, that's a big one, I would say, right? Which, except for to go where I need to go around here, I'd have enough charging stations. But less range, right?
Yep.
Longer charging time. Both those things, which, you hear counter arguments to all that. I guess, to me, there's not a big enough reason not to. Like, Teslas are decent cars, right? Objectively, they're good cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why are consumers not biting on the Tesla or the Ford Lightning or the... Like, for me, I don't really want that. And
Well, I
I
think
guess
they
I don't
were-
have a good reason why I don't want that.
I think they're overproduced for one thing. Like they were pushed so
Well, they
hard.
got subsidized so much.
Right,
Right.
and they had so many tax credits and whatnot. But for me, if I'm on a trip, there's no way I want to sit and charge my vehicle for half an hour or an hour or whatever. Now, there's some trips, yes, I'm good with that, but it's not like freedom if you have to sit there and wait. Like, if you want to be able to fill up that gas guzzler and roll within like 5 minutes.
So I would say, looking at it from an energy industry perspective, which I work in the energy industry, so I think a large problem with electric currently is, like you said, range and lack of infrastructure. The U.S. electrical infrastructure is, in this area it's pretty good. Electricity's cheap, but you start going into places like California and the grid can hardly hold up, and they have rolling brownouts and things because they're over-consuming electricity with an out-of-date grid and so-called renewable energy sources. In spite of the fact that renewable energy sources generally need replaced, the infrastructure needs replaced, some often every 20 years, something like that. You have to replace your solar panels, maybe upgrade your inverters, whatever. I think better technology is going to come, better energy storage technology is going to come. I think that's a big thing. And one advantage to fossil fuels is that the energy is already stored, rather than us converting the energy from something else into electricity and then having to store it. It's already stored as oil, and that part is free. So-called oil, crude oil, not refined motor oil. I think it will become a thing, unfortunately, for us engine lovers.
Yeah, I don't think it's dead.
I know. I don't think it's dead. I think really the optimum is hybrid at this point. I've worked on some hybrid microgrids as well as hybrid equipment. I've used some hybrid equipment, and it's very ideal. Better fuel range with vehicles. Regenerative braking. I can't, paying less for gas. I'm willing to have that. Also, faster 0 to 60s if you like fast. Hybrids can really push things in a lot of ways. It's just so many vehicles that are hybrid and not fast like Priuses. They're built for the type of consumer who drives a Prius, not the type of consumer who drives vehicles like I drive.
Yes. Yeah, and sort of on this same set of news, Trump just signed in a thing saying that the Nuclear Regulatory Agency has to approve nuclear plants within 18 months, or I guess maybe not approve, but they have to get the paperwork through in at least 18 months. And so that hopefully will help push nuclear. I don't know why we're not building as many nuclear reactors as the Chinese, because they're going to outpace us in energy production. And then it's sort of like you sort of lost the global race for energy at that point.
And global race for energy includes things like AI, global race for AI data centers, things like that. Those are all highly energy dependent, and like so many other things, China's going to own the world when it comes to that if American or somebody doesn't step up their game and beat them to it.
So guys, that's enough for Wars and Rumors of Wars.
Thanks so much for tuning in for this episode of the Nuggy Guys podcast. You can find our podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, or our Telegram channel. And if you like the podcast, feel free to share with a friend.
And as always,
be careful out there.